we have turned the page to the 2025 class, but a quick reminder how 2024 shook out. Georgia finishing at the top. You got Alabama, Oregon, Miami, Ohio State rounding out the top 5. A lot of SEC, a lot of new SEC in those rankings, but those are the team recruiting rankings. But I want to know about the recruiter rankings, the staff that put these classes together. Thankfully, we have a guy who put that list together, National College Football writer Brad Crawford. Brad, before we get into your list, what's the criteria for putting this together?
Yeah, you have to sign elite prospects, and a lot of these top 10 guys are coaching at programs under top 10 head coaches. You've got guys who are helping lead top 15 elite programs that are already on the way too early top 25 list. Expanded college football playoff watch. So there's not a lot of names in here who are unknowns. A lot of these top 10 guys, Emily, we've seen before over the last 5 or 6 years, really recruiting at a high level for these top end programs.
I love it. Let's go ahead. Let's get into those rankings, starting with number 10, Vince Marrow, the Kentucky assistant head coach.
If you look at Kentucky's football history, there's not many assistant coaches who have ever been credited with landing 5 4-stars in a single cycle. That's what Vince Marrow's been able to do in this 2024 class. His expertise is in Ohio, a state that's become a hotbed of sorts for the Wildcats. Right now, he is Mark Stoops' top assistant coach.
Coming in at number 9, you've got Joe Sloan, who coaches LSU quarterbacks.
Yeah, Brian Kelly told Joe Sloan to go out and find him some plug-and-play potential freshman impact guys. And I think he did that. He delivered 4-star tight end, Tradez Green, safety Deshaun McBride, 2 guys who may start as true freshmen. Kelly being able to keep Joe Sloan on staff as quarterbacks coach this cycle was huge, despite losing his OC, Mike Denbrock, to Notre Dame, and then Jaden Daniels going to the NFL. So Joe Sloan, not only is he an elite recruiter in our top 10, but he's also one of the best quarterback coaches in college football heading into spring.
Another Tigers coach coming in at number 8, Frank Wilson, who is the LSU assistant head coach.
Yeah, LSU is one of 2 programs in our top 10, Emily, with 2 coaches who are top 10 recruiters this cycle. So you know the Tigers got a good class. Frank is one of those, nation's most veteran recruiters. He's won more battles than you can count. He's responsible for 9 signees this cycle, highlighted by 5-star pass rusher Dominique McKinley and 4-star running back out of Texas, Caden Durham, a guy that I think could really rise up the depth chart soon in Baton Rouge. So Frank Wilson's a guy who's been around LSU a long time. He's one of Brian Kelly's top assistants.
At number 7, Trey Scott, Georgia defensive line coach.
Yeah, currently Trey Scott is Kirby Smart's best recruiter on staff since Fran Brown left for the Syracuse job back in December. Scott has done some really heavy lifting this cycle. Only 4 signees, but all 4 are top 200 players, according to our individual rankings at 24/7 Sports. He also has a verbal commitment from 5-star Justice Terry in next year's class. So Scott's already doing what he does best in that next cycle.
At number 6, you got Junior Adams, Oregon wide receivers coach.
Yeah, Oregon's a program in the Big Ten now that's going to challenge Ohio State, in my opinion, for top billing in recruiting every cycle these next couple of years. Dan Lanning, several staffers who are relentless on the trail, including this guy, Junior Adams. He and Tosh Lupoy were responsible for more than half of this top 5 class, landing these guys. So Junior Adams is a guy probably going to be a head coach soon, but not in 2024. He stays on Oregon staff.
All right, at number 5, Al Washington, Notre Dame defensive line coach.
There's a reason Boston College interviewed and nearly hired Al Washington this cycle as the Eagles' next head coach. This man can sign top-end talent. He's done it at several elite programs, Ohio State, now at Notre Dame, and now serving under Marcus Freeman. So I think Al Washington's a guy who not only does he bring a relentless mentality at line of scrimmage, but he can also sign guys at any position he finds.
At number 4, I know you know this name, Jason Taylor, Miami defensive line coach.
Yeah, former Dolphins pass rusher, Hall of Famer. He is now Mario Cristobal's ace in the hole this cycle. And I think it surprised many recruiting insiders because he was able to pull Chicago 5-star Justin Scott after he flipped from Ohio State before Christmas. Jason Taylor's a rising star, and he's now in our top 5 for 2024.
And at number 3, Marcus Davis, Auburn wide receivers coach.
Yet another SEC wideout coach who excelled this cycle, Marcus Davis at Auburn. This wide receiver room did not produce at the level necessary to win big last season in Hugh Freeze's first season. Marcus Davis is doing what he can to change that. Cam Coleman, 5-star. Perry Thompson, high-end 4-star guy. Both those wideouts have a chance to be freshman starters on the Plains. Davis identified those guys early. He got them signed, and now Auburn's wide receiver room looks like one of the SEC's best.
All right, at number 2, Holmon Wiggins, Alabama wide receivers coach is what you nominated him for, but now he is the co-OC at Texas A&M.
I know Mike Elko is thanking his lucky stars right now for getting Holmon Wiggins. Yeah, he's responsible for a third of Alabama's number 2 class overall this cycle. If I'm one of the Aggies receivers in that room in College Station, I'm super excited about my coach based on what Wiggins was able to do in Tuscaloosa with guys like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Jamison Williams. Holmon Wiggins, he can recruit them and he can develop them.
And at number 1, Fran Brown, Georgia's DB's coach, who is now the head coach at Syracuse.
Yeah, Fran helped the Dogs secure several top-rated players this cycle. 5-star Ellis Robinson, 5-star Justin Williams, 5-star KJ Bolden, flipped from Florida State. When Brown is in on a player you want, it's going to be very hard to beat him on signing day for a commitment.
All right, let's talk about some of these guys. I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Fran Brown, he had the luxury of pointing to the scoreboard while he was recruiting for the Dogs. So how do you think his recruiting chops will translate to Syracuse?
If I'm a Syracuse fan right now, I'm extremely excited to see what Brown can do. I mean, the Orange are one of the ACC's mid-level recruiters historically as a program, but when you're able to go out and pluck the number 1 recruiter in college football and hire him as your new head coach, the turnaround is going to be quick. He already signed Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord out of the portal. That was huge. He did that his first few weeks on the job. Now, there are 2 vital factors here, I think, for Fran Brown that he needs to sort of address in year 1, and that's determine what Syracuse's NIL strengths are up north, and then his ability to kind of get these high-level guys that may slip through the cracks and not get the Georgia, Alabama, LSU offers in the South. Fran Brown, he was an assistant under Kirby Smart several years. He obviously knows the fertile recruiting areas in the South, so I think he'll be able to get some high-end guys at Syracuse.
Okay, real quick here. I noticed every team represented among this top 10 has a top 10 recruiting class except for Kentucky. The Cats finished at 25 last year. So if the rankings don't necessarily tell the story of Marrow's impact, what makes the case for him being on this list?
His biggest strength is he's one of the SEC's longest tenured assistants, having been at Kentucky since 2013. And not only is he Mark Stoops' most vital recruiter, but he's a huge part, Emily, of that physical mentality at the line of scrimmage that Kentucky's been able to do these last few years. A couple 8-win seasons, has a 10-win season. Vince Marrow has made Ohio his sort of hot recruiting ground there. And, I mean, he signed a handful of 4-star guys, like I said, and no Kentucky assistant has ever been able to do that.
I love it. Brad, thank you so much for being here. You can check out his story on 247sports.com. That is the place to be. Thanks so much for joining us.